Snyderman, and this is Conversations on Creating to Heal. I'm really excited to be speaking with Megan Fenyoe from San Diego, California. Megan is a licensed clinical social worker, a transformational mindset coach, a best-selling author of You Are Enough, and a professional speaker. And she's helped hundreds of people assess challenges. And hers is a story of moving through her life struggles to find meaning and purpose and to truly believe that she is enough. So welcome, Megan.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. I'm very honored to be here today.
Oh, that's great. I'm happy to have you. So as I described in your intro, you have a variety of artistic pursuits. Do you have maybe a mission or purpose statement that kind of speaks to all of these or some of these?
It's basically my mission statement is helping people believe that they are enough. Just simple as that. So everything that I'm involved in really is focused around that mission.
It's a lovely mission and one that we really need to hear and be mindful of, I think, much more. So let's get right to your transformation story. So I said that your story is moving through life struggles to find meaning and purpose. Can you talk a little bit about some of the life events and struggles that you personally experienced, and in what ways that's most significantly transformed you?
Definitely. The struggles that I started with, started very early on in childhood, just growing up in a very dysfunctional family, and always just kind of having this low self-esteem, and not really feeling like I fit in anywhere. And I also, growing up, and I still do, I have a learning disability, 8th grade reading level and 9th grade math level, where growing up when I was going to graduate high school, my guidance counselor told me and my parents that I shouldn't go to college because I was never going to graduate. So I feel like throughout my life, I've had all of these just negative stories told to myself, and I allowed those stories to kind of develop who I am. However, the story from the guidance counselor that told me I was never going to go to college, that literally was kind of my grounding voice in a way that literally helped me get through my career. I was very successful career-wise. I've been a therapist for 15 years, but personally, my life was kind of in shambles in a way, and I just never felt good enough. I had a lot of friends around, but trust was always an issue, and just not feeling like enough. And I got married actually in 2013, and my now ex-husband had an affair for 14 months of our 2.5-year marriage. And this book that I wrote literally is from that experience. Because even though we got divorced in 2016, that's when I realized that I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship. And his love bombing and gaslighting and the things that I talk about in this book really continued for 2 years. And I remained faithful and committed to him. And it wasn't until this past February, 2018, where I literally was yet again in the midst of this trauma and everything that I had worked through with the affair. And I had started writing my book 2 weeks before this event happened. And so literally, when I tell you that I was in the midst of the trenches, of the trauma, of the struggle when I wrote my book, it's the truth. So from February until May, this book was my saving grace. This book was my healing project. And the 5 steps that I developed in this book is something that I've actually gone through personally. And they were the steps that I was able to do to be able to get this book created. And looking back at my entire life, realizing that I had done these steps so many times, but really didn't have, a name to the steps or what it looked like. So definitely lots of struggles, lots of transformations. And as soon as I said goodbye to my ex-husband, and said goodbye to the story that I was allowing him to write for my life completely exploded. I mean, my book became, a bestseller. I'm a best-selling author. In the last 6 months, things have completely changed 100% once I said goodbye to that.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
it takes a lot of courage and strength to do what you're doing. And I'm curious too, was writing something that was new for you, that came out of this experience, and the form for you that it took was simply, a book? Because some people turn to painting or poetry or music, but you might have already, been writing, or was that something new that came out of this transformation?
It was something new. I had it on my bucket list to have something published by the time I was 40, and I'm 39 now. And I didn't know if that was going to be a book or if that was going to be an article. Everyone told me growing up that my life should either be a Lifetime movie or a book. So, because it's just been really kind of chaotic. And so I think I had developed these, steps, and, I had left my full-time job and was going into entrepreneurship. And so I wanted to focus on the steps. And then I wasn't planning on putting anything about my relationship per se in the book, but then I was in the midst of writing, and then my life blew up. And again, in February, I felt like I wasn't enough and had to really look at what that meant. And so then I added basically the last 6 years of my life into the book.
Yeah, it sounds like that gives you the chance to be authentic, and then that can really ring true for your readers, because they're going to be able to not only empathize, sympathize with what you're dealing with, but be able to apply what you're learning to their own situation.
Right.
So let's
Definitely.
talk a little bit about that. So how has writing this book been a healing process for you? How does that manifest? It might be something spiritual, it might be physical. And how have others responded to you? What kind of feedback are you getting on how it's helping them?
I think for me, the transformation just was literally letting go of that story that I had clung on to for 6 years, and second guessing myself and living this mediocre life because I was allowing him to basically control everything, my behavior, my attitude. My friends could always tell when I talked to him, and just kind of being this mediocre person. Although on the outside, I made everything look good. And I think for me, the transformation was just that authenticity and really getting back to defining my values, and using my values as a coping skill, and being able to manifest and vision this life that I never imagined. It was like I broke these chains from my hands and my feet, and I was just like free. And now it's like, I don't have to think, well, I want to do this, but what if he wants me back? Now I don't have that thought. I can literally imagine and do whatever I want to do. And so for that was just a huge defining transformation for me. And that's the way I continue to think, the sky's the limit. And the reception from the book has been absolutely amazing. I've had so many people contact me that continue to say, thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing your story. This has happened to me, or I'm struggling with this. And it helps so much to have a book where it's raw and it's real, but then you're also, so the book is like a journal. So there's journal questions as well, so that people are actually making these changes while they're reading the book and while they're reading my story. And so definitely hearing the transformations. A lot of people are joining my community group, and just to learn more skills and coping skills and things like that, on how to move from that mediocre, stuck, self-limiting beliefs into a life that you've always dreamed of.
It's amazing. I keep saying that word, I know. But I'm just filled, I guess, with the liberation, how liberating that must be. If you can get rid of the belief that you're not enough, then anything is possible. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but the reality is that if you have, it's life on your terms. And how wonderful that you're able to impart your message, but also, so basically it's like creatively expressing yourself, but also doing something that you're part of something bigger. You're having an impact to help others, cope with their life's challenges. So bravo to you. That's really great. So now I want to invite you to share with us some meaningful passage, perhaps, if you have something that has particular meaning, I'd love for you to share that with us, and then talk about maybe why you chose that passage.
Well, and I don't have an actual passage. I think one of the, I'm looking at my book right now, and I think there's so many good chapters, I think, in the book. But the last part is, just really called Emerging from the Mud. Life is all about experiences, getting your spark back and regaining control. Without good, honest, and loving people in your life, this isn't possible. This is one of the biggest takeaways I received after working through the 5 steps. So I ask you, who is in your strength? You see, friend, the real challenge of growth comes when you have the courage and confidence to rise again after you've been knocked down. It takes courage to start over again. You want it? Now it's the time to go out and get it. It's not going to be easy. If in fact it were, everyone would be doing it. But if you're serious, you will go all out. You have to have space for anything to happen. With getting rid of the racket and the chaos in your head, everything and anything will be possible for you. If you do this, I believe that your dreams that you may have had been buried will come back. Every stumbling block and encountered will be transformed into a stepping stone. You're going to rise higher and accomplish your goals and become everything you were created to be. You will begin to move from struggle to strength. I'm praying this over my life and of your life today, my friend, because we don't have time to waste in believing anything else. My hope and prayer that are for anyone who finds themselves in times of struggle, that they are able to come to the realization and acceptance that no matter what happens in life, they are enough. And then the last quote in my book, it says, "Dear past, thank you for the lessons. Dear future, I am ready."
Great words to leave the reader with. Yeah, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. And
yes, thank you.
it's already so inspiring, just to hear one little part. It really makes me want to absorb more. Well, thank you for taking time to come on to Conversations on Creating to Heal. And before we go, I want to see if from this journey, you might have some life lessons that you want to leave, perhaps with folks who are struggling, people who might be going through something similar that can benefit from, your journey with creativity and healing.
There's so many life lessons, and I think this one quote that I have in my book that I created, and I use it, in all the interviews that I do, I think it sums it up really well. And it's basically this, that you are enough just as you are in whatever season you're in. And the more you celebrate and focus on that, the more you will live in your strength.
You are enough, whatever season you're in. Focus on that and live in your strength. Well, yeah, they're very inspiring words. And I just want to heartfully thank you for coming on to the program today.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.